What if Deku wielded the Omnitrix and teamed up with the unstoppable Mirko? Get ready for an epic crossover of hero power and alien transformation. Narrator: since our protagonist found the Omnitrix, his life took a new 180 degrees turn, and now his dream of wanting to be a hero is more burning than ever. But anyway, let's move on to the important thing. During classes, Izuku hid his watch well to avoid people asking questions and stuff like that, and so he planned with Setsuna to go to a place to train the two of them, one with her quirk and the other with the Omnitrix. But before that, we are in outer space. Robot, Mr. Vilgax, I have some news for you that you might like, he said while watching the most evil being in the universe still recovering. Vilgax, this better be good news, he said in an angry and upset tone. Robot, it turns out that some planets that we have invaded are near the Forbidden Sector, he said while the aforementioned villain opens his eyes in surprise, and it turns out that there are ships with the robots that were used to conquer the planets. Vilgax, excellent, how far would they reach Earth? Asking in a malicious and evil tone. Robot, according to calculations, and it would be as they say on planet Earth on Earth Day, he said while looking at his master. Vilgax, how many robots do I have at my disposal? He asked, already wanting them to act quickly. Robot, only 6 giant robots, sir, he said while looking at his leader. Vilgax, send 2 of them, he said, giving the order. I can't risk losing robots in a single day because of the Omnitrix bearer, he said while giving that order. On some other planet, ships were lit up, carrying robots that would head towards Earth, and back to Earth. Izuku, it's a good place to train, don't you think, Setsuna? He said while looking closely at his best friend. Setsuna, yes. Although the truth is I didn't like that they dirtied this beach, she said, smiling although annoyed by the huge mountains of trash, but well, it's time to train. They both leave their backpacks on a bench while luckily they had sports clothes to train. Setsuna, well then, how will you start, Izuku? Become that fire alien or what? She said while looking at the boy. Izuku, probably, and you know what you said about fire, I think I'll name it, he said, smiling and thinking while he sees Setsuna smiling. What? If I have alien forms, it's better to give them names, right? Setsuna, he, very well, alien boy, she said in a mocking tone. Well, what will you become? Izuku, let me see, he said while pressing the Omnitrix button, making the ring save and the icon change. Well, it seems like there is fire here, but he said, moving the ring until he saw something that interested him. This seems interesting. 10. The green-haired man, without wasting time, presses the Omnitrix to become. Wow, this alien looks very strong, don't you think, Setsuna? He said while looking at the green-haired girl. Setsuna, wow, that's a lot of muscle, and wow, those are 4 arms, she said, smiling and looking at the alien. 4 arms, well, what do you think I'll call it? 4 arms, he laughing while looking at the pile of garbage. It's time to train, he said while they were getting ready to train. Narrator, and so began the training to become our protagonist's hero, but it would be a long and difficult road, so technically he would need help from Setsuna, of course, only between the 3 of them, Inko, Setsuna and Izuku himself would not tell anything about the alien clock, while they trained, and in less than a day he collected the first data, whether of appearance, powers and abilities, since he wanted to know the transformations first. Our protagonist was first analyzing and training each alien, implying that there are 10 aliens, so he decided with the help of Setsuna to create a unique book, where they would record the aliens that Izuku has, and as he always did as an analysis guide for future heroes, he would make his aliens. Our protagonist was first analyzing and training each alien, implying that there are 10 aliens, so he decided with the help of Setsuna to create a unique book, where they would record the aliens that Izuku has, and as he always did as a guide. Note, and why don't I put the weaknesses? Simple, just keep reading please. And one more thing, take the all-inclusive alien guidebook, will make it cheap for 75 Mexican pesos, all types of money from each country are accepted, take it, and if you take it you'll take a chibi Izuku figure. Another note, before starting, the order of the aliens will not be like in the Ben 10 intro where they show the aliens one by one, since the Omnitrix does not have them in order, and apart from that, in my opinion, Izuku has been using them thoughtfully. 1 Alien fire. Data, an alien composed of earth and fire. Powers and abilities, pyrokinesis and pterokinesis. His handling of fire is surprising, his power can even reach to create a supernova, but it is recommended not to do so since it can be dangerous, and more so if there are populated areas. He can fly, in addition to that he can manipulate the earth only if he sends fire to the earth. Apparently he has a good handling of increasing the size of fire. Weaknesses, in process? 2 Alien 4 arms. Data, alien of great size, muscle mass and 4 arms. Powers and abilities, his strength is extraordinary, capable of lifting things heavier than his own weight. Being an alien with 4 arms, he can ironically carry more things at once. He can jump great distances, his skin is so thick that bullets do not penetrate his skin, and he also has a powerful jaw capable of biting metal or concrete. Weaknesses, in process? 3 Alien Wilmot. Data, quadruped alien with the likeness of a giant dog. Powers and abilities, his ability to smell, hear and heat sensors make him the best tracker, since with his abilities he detects his enemies up to a few kilometers away. He also has sharp claws capable of cutting the metal of cars. He can run fast and jump very high, but not only that, he can walk on 2 legs to use his 2 long arms to hit, not only that, even without activating his sensors, enemies just by getting close will be quickly alerted. Weaknesses, in process? 4 Alien XLR-8. Data, alien similar to a velociraptor, except this one is blue and its shape is strange but its ability is extraordinary. Powers and abilities, his super speed is superior to that of the professional hero Ingenium. He can run on the surface of the water, and not only that, create both tornadoes or whirlpools depending on the environment, and not only that, his super speed allows him to make fast movements, or even decipher password codes or safes with his high speed. Weaknesses, in process? 5 Alien Ultra T. Data, alien made of a strange metal material and technological mass, as well as a tall size. Powers and abilities, his ability to adhere to technological things makes him a very advanced being capable of repairing and improving technology in just an instant. He can possess any type of technology, but not only that, he also has the ability to mold his body and create his own weapons from his own body, and he can also fit through tight places thanks to his composition. Weaknesses, in process? 6 Diamond Alien. Data, being composed only of diamond, but very extremely resistant than that of the Earth, in addition to its shape. Powers and abilities, has control of cryptokinesis, can manipulate any diamond at his disposal, either increase or decrease it, can turn his arms into dangerous weapons, ability to launch projectiles, but be careful that there are no people nearby, has a regenerative capacity when it suffers damage. Despite being made of diamond, it can resist high temperatures, in addition to reflecting any type of laser attack. Weaknesses, in process? 7 Alien Gray Matter. Facts, frog-like creature, very small in size. Powers and abilities, an extremely intelligent being, no more than that, a being that would even surpass the most brilliant intelligence quirk on Earth and the galaxy. Its small size may not be a big deal, but for that size it is a dangerously intelligent being. It can do calculations, stick to walls like a frog. Its size allows it to land in places without any problems without suffering extreme falls, the ability to build something outside of what is advanced in humans. Weaknesses, in process? 8 Aquatic Alien. Data, a humanoid fish with an antenna like land fish. Powers and abilities, allows you to go to extreme depths, breathe underwater without any problem, can swim very fast either with your legs or put them together like a tail to go faster. Weaknesses, in process? 9 Insectoid Alien. Data, flying insect similar between a dragonfly and a sighting. Powers and abilities, fly very high, but not too high since it can't reach the skies. It can climb walls like all insects. Not only that, its ability to release mucus from its mouth and eyes make it a capture-type alien, not counting the enormous stinger it has in its tail, capable of making holes in cars, although it should be noted that it not only releases mucus but also extremely disgusting gases. Weaknesses, in process? 10 Ghostly Alien. Data, a ghostly being like the legends with a rather strange and terrifying appearance. Powers and abilities, being invisible to the human eye, able to pass through objects without any problem, flying high. Inside his body there are tentacles which he uses to attack and tear apart anything. Even one of his tentacles is capable of lifting a car or an object but that can lift equal to its own weight. Weaknesses, in process? And once the transformation training was finished for today and the beach was slowly cleaned, our protagonist wrote down another important thing in his new book, but the first thing to open the book was the design of the Omnitrix. Omnitrix old design and new design. Data, an alien watch capable of turning the wearer into other aliens. Information, duration of each transformation 15 minutes, I don't know if it's that long, recharge time 7 minutes, apparently the watch is resistant to heat, metal, cold, water, basically it has a very strange material. Setsuna, so, have you finished writing down your notes, Izuku? She said, smiling mockingly. Izuku, hee, I'm done for now Setsuna, I still need to update my alien's weaknesses he said smiling while they packed their things to leave since it was already dark. Well let's go home, is it okay if we use XLR-8? he said while looking at the green-haired girl. Setsuna, I don't know, I could accuse you as a pro-hero for doing something illegal. She made an adorable pout of anger but mockingly, and they both laughed. It's a joke, silly, come on. At that, the green-haired boy transformed into XLR8, and Setsuna quickly climbed onto his back, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. Feeling the closeness, Izuku tensed up slightly, making Setsuna chuckle at his reaction. With a smirk, she playfully said, "Relax, hero, I won't bite," as they sped off toward home, fast as the road runner escaping the coyote's traps. While in space, certain ships were approaching planet Earth, so they stopped in the middle of space, launching the two robots towards Earth, which would be there at dawn. Back with our protagonist, they arrived at the house just in time. XLR8, "Hi Mom, we're back," he said while they were in the patio, since if he had entered through the main entrance they would be suspicious. Inko, "Oh Izuku, Setsuna, I'm glad you're back. I was already worried. How did training go?" she said as the three of them walked inside the house. Setsuna, "Great, Izuku's 10 aliens are something else," she said excitedly. XLR8, "That's right, Mom, it turns out I have 10 aliens," he said while the detransformation alarm sounds. "Well, it's time for me to take a shower, I stink of sweat." While the green-haired boy was going to take a bath, Setsuna was about to do the same, but was stopped by Inko. "Inko, Setsuna, can I talk to you for a moment?" she said a little seriously but calmly. Setsuna, "Of course Mrs. Inko," she said while they were getting ready to talk. "What would you like to talk about?" "Inko, I know you like my son since you became friends when you were little," she said a little seriously but calmly and exulting. The green-haired girl blushing, "Calm down, it doesn't bother me, but the detail is my son, now that he has the power to be a hero there may be more women in his path." Setsuna, "Oh, I thought it wasn't that obvious," she said embarrassed, but when she hears that she gets a little jealous. "I don't think Izuku makes other girls fall in love with him, he. Inko, "Believe it, oh, not everything can happen, Setsuna. Look, if one day my son falls in love with more than one person, I wouldn't imagine the number of grandchildren they would give me," she said, blushing and smiling, making Setsuna blush a lot. Note, even if a character acts flirtatious, daring, or daring, one will always get nervous about certain topics that may not make us uncomfortable if we don't think about them too much. Setsuna, Miss Inko, don't say those things. I mean, I'd like to, but it's not time yet, she said, blushing and nervous. And I don't think Izuku can choose all the girls he falls in love with, including me. Inko, don't worry about that, just a few months ago it was legalized that a person can have their harem, he said, smiling, surprising the green-haired girl. Note, in this universe story, it is legal for both men and women to have their own harem, but for it to be fair and legal, the parents of both the boy and the girl have to sign a contract, stating that not only the boy accepts the responsibility of taking care of them, but also the girls are willing to share it and above all live under the same roof, generally supporting each other in the collaboration of the house and expenses. Setsuna, I don't know what to say, she said, somewhat surprised, so embarrassed and all pp. Well, it wouldn't bother me, but honestly I don't know if Izuku sees me the way I see him. Inko, maybe my son is absent-minded, but by demonstrating with actions you could make him see you not as a friend but as a woman, she said, smiling sweetly at the green-haired girl, who thought a lot about the green-haired girl. After hours of talking and having dinner before going to bed, things were about to change, especially one thing. During the dawn, two shooting stars that were still barely visible in the night sky and the sun had not yet risen. Those two figures were none other than Vilgax's robots, and they landed, one on the beach and the other in the city, causing a bit of an earthquake due to the impact, causing people to wake up. Others who were there early went to see what was happening. The professional heroes who were patrolling went to investigate. While at the Midoriya's house, Izuku, what the fuck, he was asleep but then he falls face first to the ground because he felt the earthquake. WQQ, what happened? An earthquake. Inko, son, are you okay? Runs excitedly to see if her son was okay. Setsuna, are you okay? She said worriedly, also looking at them. It seems that the earthquake stopped. But then they hear screams and destruction, so they go out into the street and the three of them see a giant robot attack the city along with two flying disc-shaped robots. Pro hero, what are you doing there? Get out quickly. Get out, he said, looking at the three green-haired boys as he tried to destroy one of those robots, but nothing. His armor was hard, and not only that, his laser beams sent him flying. Of course he was still alive. Ga run. But then one of the robots looks at the Omnitrix on Izuku's wrist and doesn't hesitate to shoot. Then Setsuna launches herself towards Izuku in time and both of them roll on the floor. Izuku, Thanks Setsuna, he said, believing that he was almost hit in the head. Setsuna, you're welcome, fast, she said while throwing a rock at the robot that didn't even flinch. Inko, let's go now, she said as they went to the garage to get in the car. The three of them get in while the disc robot that shot and the other one that shot at the heroes chase the car, while the big one distracted the pro heroes. Heroina pro, they are chasing that fast car, she said while going to save the people who were in the car. While in the car, Inko was driving fast. Setsuna, left screaming while dodging the robot's shots. Why are they chasing us? Izuku : I think it's because of the Omnitrix, he said looking at the clock while the two women were incredulous. Inko: Izuku, I don't think it's because of the wow, she manages to skid and avoid a light pole that falls on the car. Setsuna: Izuku has no sense, surely they are here to attack whoever, she said trying to think that they are not coming for the Omnitrix. Izuku: then why are they chasing us and more, that he said while pointing angrily at the robots and then in front of another big robot, me and my big mouth. The second giant robot, seeing the car that the other two disc robots were chasing, catches the car. Inko: oh god, scared that the robot was looking at them and analyzing the car. Setsuna: God, what are we doing? She said with fear. Izuku: I have an idea, he said getting out of the car and climbing on top of the car. Inko and Setsuna: son, get in the car right now. Izuku, come back, they screamed so upset and terrified. Izuku: hey big guy, getting the robot's attention and discreetly showing him the Omnitrix, you want this? Then come and get me, he said while selecting a certain alien and pressing the ring. Then come and get me, he said while selecting a certain alien and pressing the ring. Diamond: nobody messes with my mother and my best friend, he said while turning his arm into a sword, cutting the giant robot's arm, and then falls from so high and creates a diamond ramp, managing to get the car to safety. They're okay, mom, Seth. Diamond: nobody messes with my mother and my best friend, he said while turning his arm into a sword, cutting the giant robot's arm, and then falls from so high and creates a diamond ramp, managing to put the car to safety. Are you okay, mom, Setsuna? Inko: yes son, never do that again, she said relieved and yells at him angrily, but the robot was about to shoot a ray and she gets scared. Diamond: not in my junk guard. He stood in front creating diamonds in front to prepare to reflect. And so it was that the robot shot a powerful ray from his arm, but the diamond alien who created some diamonds to reflect the ray, returns it without causing damage to any house, and the ray hits the robot so hard that it destroys half of it from the middle up to the head. This was seen by the professional heroes, seeing how that boy they saw who turned into an alien even though they don't know it, thinking it's a quirk, and of course the cameras were recording. Diamond: that will teach you junk, he said while helping his mother and Setsuna out. Setsuna: wow Izuku, I knew you were good but not that good. That was amazing, relieved that nothing happened and seeing that they were safe. Hey boy, said a female voice but with an almost revealing outfit, as well as bunny ears and a tail. What you did was incredible. Diamante: Miss Mirko T, thank you, but this is not over yet, he said while looking at the rabbit heroine, but then they see the other two robberies and the other one that is missing. Inko: Izuku Midoriya, you are not going to fight, you will get into trouble, he said while trying to stop his son. Setsuna: it's true Izuku, he said they were trying to stop him. Diamante: enough, he yelled angrily, startling the two and Mirko, surprised that he raised his voice at them and even more so at the mother. You don't understand, they will continue to attack innocent people if I don't do anything, and worse yet, I don't want to imagine if something were to happen to the two of them. I prefer to break the rules than to remain a coward. They have taken care of me for many years, and it is time to return the favor, he said while running towards where the robots were. A silence fell between the three of them until Mirko broke the ice. Mirko: wow, that boy has guts, ma'am, and don't worry, he won't get into trouble, trust me, he said, winking at him and jumping to go help him. While with Izuku. Diamante: hey junk, over here, he said getting the attention of the three, and they see that he has the Omnitrix. I knew it, they stopped attacking when they saw me, in fact they are coming for the watch, I have to get them away from the city. That's the beach where I was, it's perfect, he said in his mind ready to fight. Then Mirko stands next to him. Miss Mirko, what are you doing here? Mirko: I see they have their eyes on you, boy, I won't ask why, but let me help you, and one thing, never yell at a woman when the situation is critical, he said smiling calmly, although he smiled maliciously because of his rude attitude, but I understand your situation. Diamante: thank you for helping me, and I do owe you an apology, he said seriously while they saw the robots approaching. I heard from you that you don't like to work in a team, but the situation warrants it, we need to take them to the beach. Mirko: yes, that's true, but as you say, this situation is critical, the beach? Oh, I understand, it's time to wet them, he said smiling, but don't you think you could do what you did a while ago? They prepare to run and jump on buildings and the other on diamond platforms. Diamond, and if they shoot another ray which damages the area more, no way, and no matter how many projectiles I throw, I don't want to imagine if they dodge them and some diamond kills someone, he said seriously and with chills. They both continue running, avoiding the rays, but they used objects to prevent them from damaging the area, until they finally reached the beach. Mirko, well, we arrived. Damn, who was the idiot who left all this junk on a beach? She said so seriously and annoyed. Diamond, yes, it would bother me too if they did this to a beautiful beach, but there is no time. I have an idea, Miss Mirko. My plan is as follows: I will let myself be attacked to distract those disc robots, and you kick them with all your strength into the sea, while I would go to the robot, and if I'm not mistaken it should have the ability to jump, but what I want is when I'm behind it, I would make it retreat with my diamonds, and after that I will create a diamond ramp for us to give it the coup de grace. Mirko, wow. You thought about it while we were running, huh? She said, surprised and smiling mockingly, gently hitting the boy's arm. You are someone smart and a nerd. Diamante, he, it's that I'm fascinated by heroes like you, Miss Mirko, he said, embarrassedly blushing, but he hears the robots approaching and becomes serious. Here they come. Both get serious and nod. They see how the three robots were on the beach approaching looking for the target, using their scanners, and then the Petrosapiens comes out revealing itself, and the three get ready to shoot. The boy dodged them with ease, or reflected the shots into the water, and without realizing it the two disc robots were kicked hard by the rabbit heroine and were about to reach the water, but at the last minute they managed to stabilize, but without warning, Diamond fired two large layers of diamond managing to fall into the water, and these when wet began to short circuit and explode. Now the big guy was left who was now shooting at the two. Quickly the Petrosapiens reached him, and as the robot supposed, he jumped high, turned his three mechanical legs ready to crush him, but he quickly dodged it, and the Petrosapiens, as he planned, created a large diamond wall making the robot back off, and creating his ramp. He and the rabbit heroine went up and jumped a bit. The girl prepared her best kick and the alien created a diamond mallet, and they both hit him so hard that he lost his balance thanks to the sand and made him fall into the water, causing a short circuit and kaboom. After everything had just exploded, both of them saw that there was nothing left. At that the clock sounds the alarm ending the transformation time. Izuku, phew, that was close, said relieved. Mirko, and you can say that again, whatever they are, they didn't seem friendly, although I heard that they were chasing you, he said seriously looking at the green-haired man. Did they bother you or something? Izuku, no, only when we came out they saw us and started to attack, he said a little nervously, and of course hiding the Omnitrix very well inside the sleeve of his pajamas. But thank you for helping me, Miss Mirko, he said bowing. Mirko, ha, don't thank me, you were the one who planned how to finish off that piece of junk, and you yourself showed me that act of heroism, she said smiling proudly and giving the boy a strong pat on the back. Also, don't call me miss, you make me feel old. Izuku, ouch, rubbing his back. But I do it out of respect, and no, you are not old, you are pretty, beautiful, attractive, although many say that your attitude is rude and tomboyish as they say. For me you are beautiful, he said being sincere. He covered his mouth thinking that the heroine Mirko would get angry with him. Mirko, oh yeah? Surprised since she was a child they always bothered her for her quirk, but as she believed she would beat them with her legs, and well they almost always called her a tomboy, and she never cared, but the boy was different, so she smiles sincerely. Well, thank you very much, you are the first one who tells me that. Izuku, seriously, oh wow, he laughing embarrassed but getting a little serious. But now the problem is, what will I do with the authorities? He said, sweating bullets and nervously thinking about how to solve it. Mirko, ha, he looks cute when he's nervous thinking about his mind. He approaches Izuku, don't worry boy, I'll solve this. Let's say that you're a boy in training, and that I gave you the order to act, that way you wouldn't get into trouble, do you think? Izuku, sounds good to me, let's just wait for them to believe it, he said smiling but doubting. Mirko, don't worry, otherwise I'll break your fucking bones, she said smiling calmly, to show a smile so sadistic and terrifying that it would scare even Stain himself. While in outer space. Robot : am sir, he was afraid to tell his master but he feels relieved. Vilgax, don't say anything. I suppose that whoever found the Omnitrix now knows how to use it, but not completely, but nevertheless, he said while breathing a little agitated. Now we know that we must prepare better if one day we reach Earth, he said seriously. If he is a human with incredible power. I would not imagine all the power he has, but if he turns out to be someone worthy I will cut off his head and hang it in my trophy room, he said coldly and with murderous eyes and malice. Narrator, in the previous chapter, our protagonist analyzed each alien's abilities and powers, but technically their weaknesses were missing, so he would work on that another day. But that day two giant Hibosh arrived, which the heroes could barely stop, but without knowing that Izuku was the one they were chasing because they were going after the Omnitrix. Luckily the green-haired man used the diamond alien since the laser beams those guys fired could return them to him. Finally he managed to defeat them with the help of Mirko, who would help him with his problem with people so that they would not scold him. The next day, the heroic act that our protagonist did was not published, thanks to the fact that they spoke with the cameraman who recorded everything. He reluctantly deleted the video, but that he would be paid if he did not say anything, so the cameraman accepted. Of course Mirko clarified to the other heroes that she gave him the order because she was in training, and as for why she did not mention it, she said this. Mirko, as if I said something about my pupil, so go work to help with disasters, he said with his typical rudeness and attitude that no one decided to speak anymore. Narrates Izuku, I know that was Mirko, well, thanks to her I didn't get into trouble. Of course after returning home I apologized appropriately to my mother and Setsuna for having yelled at them. But they surprisingly instead of scolding me they also apologized, so we all apologized and hugged each other. After that, no one except a few heroes knew about my heroic acts, some congratulated me and others scolded me, but I still did the right thing. But there was something strange about those robots. Luckily one of them was a few blocks from my house. I used Ultra T to control it and further examine its technology in my house, and of course use gray matter to find out more. But what took me by surprise is that this robot was programmed to capture and take the Omnitrix. Whoever sent these robots must be an alien looking for the Omnitrix. Anyone would say that it is not important. Oh, but of course it is. These robots did not hesitate to attack whether hero, civilian, elderly and things like that. They were programmed by someone who wouldn't even have mercy on anyone, so I have to train more seriously with the Omnitrix and my aliens. Back in the present time. Setsuna, it was lucky that the heroine Mirko helped you Izuku, she said while she was divided into several pieces by her quirk helping to train Izuku. Insectoid, and you can say that again, he said while shooting his snot almost hitting his best friend's body parts, but anyway, I'm very worried that more robots like the one that attacked the other day will come back. Setsuna, speaking of which, why do you think they came for the Omnitrix? Said while stopping training. Insectoid, well, I was analyzing the possible theories Setsuna. My first theory is. I was about to speak but out of nowhere I feel that they are being observed. Did you feel that? Setsuna, no, but from your reaction someone is spying on us, she said while separating her eyes and hands to check. Insectoid, I'll check, he said while flying in the air to see what or who was spying on them until he sees something move. Setsuna to the left, he said pointing at him to go fly quickly to surround the mysterious person. Setsuna, yes, she said while her eyes and hands both go quickly with whoever was spying on them. Both of them surrounded the subject who was nervous, until both of them caught him surrounding him, but they noticed how emaciated his appearance was, as if he were a skeleton. Insectoid and Setsuna, who are you and why were you spying on us? They said in unison, serious, ready to attack him. Wait, it wasn't my intention to spy on you, he said nervously, and he coughed a little and a little blood came out, which worried the teenagers. Relax, I only came here because a friend of mine asked me to see if there was anyone training, although I think it's already occupied, he said while looking at them. Insectoid, sir, are you okay? And well, as long as you don't do anything strange, you're fine. He said seriously, but then the time alarm ended, turning back into a human, surprising the blonde. Setsuna, well, sighed while looking at them. You have a strange quirk, young man. I've never seen that insect form before. By the way, I'm Toshinori Yagi, a pleasure. Said the emaciated man introducing himself. Izuku, I'm Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you Mr. Yagi, he said while looking at the blonde. I wonder why he was bleeding. Is he sick? Setsuna. Nice to meet you, Setsuna Togaki said introducing himself politely. Toshinori, oh, I thought they were brothers, surprised that despite being green-haired they weren't brothers. Setsuna, they always told us that as children, but we are best friends since childhood, she said smiling calmly although she sometimes looked at the green-haired boy. Toshinori, I understand. Although forgive me for being nosy, when I saw you I was curious to know what you were doing here. I saw you training, although I couldn't help but hear that part about the Omnitrix and the robots that attacked the other day, he said nervously and embarrassed. At that, they both move away from the blonde and talk to each other. Setsuna, I think we should be careful talking about the clock, but what do we do with it? She said worriedly and giving herself a facepalm for being careless, although the blonde didn't mean to, both were at fault for not making sure someone was watching them. Izuku, well, he doesn't seem like a bad person, he said, glancing sideways at the man who was waiting calmly, although he took a small snack out of his bag. Besides, he's already in his third age, so I don't think he remembers the Omnitrix thing, he said, but without knowing that he would tell that secret to someone important. But if he does remember, well, if he had an alien capable of erasing memory, he would do it with pleasure, anyway. They both approached the blonde who was waiting for them calmly and quietly. Toshinori, if it's a personal matter, there's no need for that. I was going to say something, although deep inside I wanted to know what the Omnitrix is and also investigate why giant robots with technology far advanced than that of humans attacked. Izuku, don't worry, he tells me that he is trustworthy, Mr. Yagi, but if you promise to keep it a secret, I will do it, he said seriously, and they see that the blonde nods well. After a conversation that was not so long but not so short, the blonde was more than surprised. Toshinori, oh my godness, he said surprised, and of course he didn't get carried away. He wasn't stupid enough to give himself away. This is beyond what I imagined, although the OFA isn't far behind either, he thought that last thing while looking at the young people. Notros, 7_70 haha, looking at the peace symbol. Izuku, that's right, Mr. Yagi, and that's why I assumed that those robots were sent by someone who wants to recover the Omnitrix, showing the watch to the blonde who analyzes it in detail. That's why I made these possible theories. 1. An evil alien wants to take back what belongs to him and attack anyone in order to get the power back. 2. An evil alien looking to take over this watch. 3. Invade the land and take over the clock. Narrator, so the green-haired man explained the 3 possible theories without knowing what Vilgax would do in the future. Of course for Toshinori Yagi this was very unbelievable, but if he analyzes it well, the history of the OFA is something out of the ordinary, like the Omnitrix, so the blonde thought that this boy would have a powerful device on his wrist. He thought about why the boy didn't send him to the authorities, but although he knows there are corrupt heroes and others who would like that power, so he deduced that the boy didn't mention anything. Toshinori, I see, then you carry a very powerful device. Your reason for hiding is understandable, and I'm glad Mirko helped you deal with the problems, he said seriously but with a calm smile. Izuku, that's right, if it weren't for the heroine Mirko I would be in trouble, but could I keep the secret? He said smiling, looking at the Omnitrix for a moment. Setsuna, do you promise us, Mr. Yagi? Still looking suspiciously at the skeletal man. Toshinori, don't worry, I won't tell anyone, I promise, he said, smiling calmly and serenely. By the way, I'm curious, you said you have 10 aliens on the watch, right? Izuku, yes, but if I advance I think, or there is a possibility of unlocking a new one, I believe in that, he said while looking at the Omnitrix, only that it lasted transformed for about 15 minutes and for it to recharge about 7 minutes, so technically I am training to see if I can reduce the recharge time and increase the time in my transformations, although I suspect that will not be the case. Setsuna, I'm still worried that you'll turn into something really dangerous. She said this worriedly and she wasn't lying. Who knows what other species of alien might turn into Izuku and end up losing control. Toshinori, true, I didn't think about it, he said seriously, and very worried. If he were alive, he wouldn't hesitate to go after that watch. This boy must be protected. I hate having to do this, but I have to tell Nezu. However, I don't want to betray the trust of young Midoriya. Besides, he would be a good candidate to be the bearer of the OFA, but I need to see his abilities. He seriously thought about this. If this boy is in danger, he must be protected, but first he had to talk to Izuku and then to Nezu. By the way, would you do me the favor of seeing one of your transformations if it's not too much trouble? Izuku, sure, no problem, he said smiling. He gets up to distance himself and presses the button. I will become XLR8, he said, selecting the alien to transform into and crush the ring. When he finished transforming, the blonde was very surprised to see how the clock was now on the boy's chest, and the shape it had. Toshinori, impressive, and a question, did you give names to your aliens? He said surprised, looking at him from head to toe. XLR8, it's to identify them easier. Look at this, he said, running super fast, running on the water. Toshinori, while surprised that speed was superior to that of Ingenium, although the blonde would surpass that speed, he could imagine how the boy would use the OFA on his aliens. He would literally be the most threatening being on Earth or the galaxy. Setsuna, I love that alien, it looks like a dinosaur, she said excitedly, and crazy about reptiles, I mean dinosaurs. Toshinori, you like him, don't you? He said, making the girl tense. Calm down, the boy can be absent-minded and all, but one shows that one can call or attract his attention, he said, smiling while the green-haired girl calmed down. XLR8, ready, I'm back, he said as he arrived and put flower leaves on their necks, and he had one. I went to Hawaii, hee. Toshinori, incredible, you got there in less than 3 minutes, young Midoriya, he said, amazed by the ability of that alien. Setsuna, at least they didn't catch you, big head, she said mockingly while the two laughed. Toshinori, well, I have to go. It seems that they just sent me a message, he said while checking his cell phone. Luckily, he had it on silent so that they wouldn't hear the totally ridiculous messages. XLR8, oh, "See you soon, Mr. Yagi," he said, saying goodbye to the kind gentleman. "I hope to see you again. Setsuna, take care and try not to spy on others," he smiling mockingly as they watched the blonde leave. After the two boys were left alone as they continued to train for strengths and weaknesses, we cut to Toshinori, who goes to a secluded spot as his body undergoes growth and muscle buildup. "Were you able to find out anything, All Might?" he said while someone was communicating on the phone. All Might: "Yes, that's right, Director Nezu, just as I suspected, but I can't tell you unless it's in private and with young Midoriya," he said seriously while jumping from building to building, still with his cell phone on call. "Nezu, I understand. Well, I want you to mention him long before the UA exams, since I'm interested," he said while watching over and over again the video that was supposed to have been deleted so as not to leak to the public. In reality, it ended up in the hands of Nezu because when he saw the green-haired man in action he became interested. Meanwhile, we are in outer space. "Robot, sir, the Omnitrix signal was activated again," he said, warning his master. Vilgax: "Ah, that's already known," he said, breathing slowly while recovering. "Whoever is having it must be learning to love and use it. Last time we sent 2 robots and I have 4 left. Are there more robots on planets near Earth?" he said, impatient and annoyed because he feared that the bearer could control the Omnitrix more. "Robots, counting the remaining 4 and another 10, there are only 14 robots," he said seriously while looking at his mistress, "and one of the ships has one of the adaptable robots." Vilgax: Wait," he said seriously while thinking, "let's see what that carrier is capable of. Do not send the robots unless he orders it." He was planning something, but first, by the way, how are the repairs and the portal going? Robot 2: "We have already sent our fleets to force intelligent beings to work for the space ring and the repairs. I think it would be in a year and a half that we will go to Earth," he said seriously while making calculations. Vilgax: "As long as you keep working, I'll go to Earth sooner," he said seriously and with a look that seemed to want to smile evilly. Back to Earth. Narrator: During these months that passed, he began to analyze each weak point, hidden ability or something that he can use on his aliens, that if for the protagonist it was strange, since those robots that came that time have not appeared, and not only that apparently Toshinori came to give them some training routine sheets even better than theirs, that if at first Setsuna does not trust him much, but little by little he accepted Mr. Toshinori and noticed that he was not a bad person, so some advice he gave were very useful. So Izuku continued training in these months for almost a year, but Izuku managed to write down the weaknesses of his aliens. Izuku narrates: "I was doing the latest data and weaknesses of my alien forms, which is why I have a special list already updated and explain each one. 1. Fire. Weaknesses: if wet by a large amount of water it can go out for a long time, and it needs heat or drying to be able to use its fire, although there is a chance of using telekinesis, but also fire extinguishers can put it out, but also sand, since sand can put out fire, although fire can create glass, large amounts of sand can put it out. Extra fact: it can generate extreme heat equaling the power of the sun, but it is better to be careful. It is not known if it creates a supernova but massive, and also something is that when I get angry or my emotions are very active it allows me to increase the flames. 2. 4 arms. Weaknesses: its size makes it heavy so much that it cannot be on surfaces that affect weight much, but also a detail cannot fit in small places on its body. Its strength can end up killing someone even if they do not make much effort. Its speed is slow due to its body, but also the detail has a blind spot, and that is that despite having 4 arms a powerful direct attack to its back can hurt it. Despite its body being very resistant, attacks to the back can hurt it. Extra fact: if he falls into the water he can still swim, but his weight prevents him from swimming very well. Also due to his 4 arms, if he carries something using all his hands he is vulnerable. 3. Wilmot. Weaknesses: his super sense of smell, hearing, and heat sensors can be nullified, causing him problems. Being sensitive to hearing by strong attacks, whether noise or explosions, can hurt. Even a foul smell would block his nose. His heat sensors: if someone generates extreme heat, can appear to be the invisible person to the naked eye. Not only that he can't speak, he only communicates between dog sounds and barking. Extra fact: this being an alien almost similar to dogs, it has a certain attitude like a dog. If you pet it, it lets itself be pampered and is carried away by its instincts. Also something curious, dog whistles can also hurt it depending on what type, and of course some type of calm sound can calm it down in case it is very upset. 4. XLR8. Weaknesses: can't run on ice because he skates. If he steps on something sticky he can't escape. Also if he runs on sand his speed is reduced very little, but if it's wet it can be difficult to move. Also despite running on hot rocks he can burn his feet. He also has another weakness: despite being fast and swift, if he falls into the water entering a little deep his speed is reduced to 0. not being able to run even being underwater he has to go to the surface. There is also a theory that if a gravity quirk or in space without gravity it will be difficult to move. Extra fact, his speed can be fast apart from deciphering any code with that super speed. It is also theorized that by creating powerful tornadoes or whirlpools depending on the high speed he goes. A detail is that, thanks to the helmet that covers his face he apparently has an analyzer, and at the same time allows night vision. 5 Ultra T. Weaknesses. Being a completely liquid and metal being, it can be damaged by electricity or electromagnetic pulses. Also a detail, if a virus enters it can be rendered useless until it can be updated and the virus eliminated. Despite possessing any vehicle or technology it receives damage. It is also damaged by extreme fire. Since it is composed of metal and liquid, it is also theorized that if it falls into the water it can suffer some short circuit, but it has not been proven. Extra data. By possessing any technological artifact, improving it and much more, the device remains that way from the improvement permanently. It could even update a security system capable of detecting even a small 3 cm insect. It is theorized that by possessing an object when losing the transformation the user is trapped inside but alive, but it is recommended to be careful. It is also theorized that it has the ability to travel in a video game or virtual world, or even travel on the internet to be able to reach another country in a matter of seconds, but the risks would be like in real life if you lose a life. Goodbye. 6 Diamond. Weaknesses. It may be a hard diamond, but if it is hit roughly or damaged with violent or powerful attacks its crystal is damaged, which is why it takes time to regenerate its limbs. Also something in which it is weak, is that if someone hits it with the diamonds of its sword it will remain stuck in the wall without being able to move. Also another detail is that when trying to contain the lasers in its crystals they can make it explode into pieces, but of course it can still regenerate. Extra fact, the other day we went to the jewelry store to sell these diamonds, and I almost fainted when I found out the absurd amount they are worth, and I wasn't the only one. Setsuna and my mother almost fainted, since their quantity is worth more than $4 million. Of course they couldn't buy that amount, so we sold them at a good fair price, but also another curious fact, and if it is possible to change the color of the diamond. Note, since there are diamonds of different colors, it is only a theory that there are more colors of diamonds. 7 Gray Matter. Weaknesses. Its size is small so it is easy prey for larger ones. Despite being intelligent its size is easy prey for animals that will believe it is a toy. Also despite surviving falls and not breathing much in space or water it is dangerous to be confident. It also has a weakness that when being in small places, the time is dangerous because the person can die if they do not get out in time. Extra fact, despite his size, his ability to create ingenious things makes him a dangerous being, although he could also create something out of the ordinary. Having a theory that the species of this alien was the one who created the Omnitrix is just a theory. 8 Aquatic. Weakness. Obviously being a fish it can die if it is not in its environment, but also if special equipment is created so that it can fight on dry land due to its strength and claws it could be useful. But also a weakness is heat, since if a heat stroke damages it its skin burns and becomes dehydrated. Also another weakness is that if when opening its mouth to bite someone puts something in it or blocks its mouth it can be difficult for it. Extra fact. Its fish-like antenna that attracts its prey can glow in very deep areas. It also has the ability to guide itself in places even when there is little light underwater. Another theory is that it possibly has the ability to shed scales like snakes due to have more toughness. 9 Insectoid. Weaknesses. Its wings are very fragile that when they get very wet it can't fly or swim. Although if it trains a little to swim when its wings are wet it could swim. The fetid smell it has can be tracked, and like any insect it can be affected a little by insecticide. Another curious damage is its tail. It can be dangerous if it kills someone, but that's not all. If its tail gets caught in something it can't free itself. Fire and ice can harm it, but ice more because when it freezes its wings they can break. That happened once but fortunately they grow back, but it takes a whole day for its wings to regenerate. Note, it is theorized that if something happened to his wings he would be able to regenerate them but it would take some time. 10 Ghostly. Weaknesses. If I uncover the layer that covers the body of this being, the sun can damage it. The tentacles also suffer a burn, and not only that, despite being cut and regenerating, the wearer suffers damage. Also if something special liquid for invisible beings is sprayed on it, this being becomes visible, and not only that, also special equipment to track its invisibility. Extra fact, his behavior is something out of the unusual. When I transform I do not feel fear, on the contrary I feel that I scare my enemies more, but there is also something that is not very heroic, possession. I can possess someone's body at will and make them harm themselves. I do not like this means, but if it is a case of life or death of a hostage I must use it. But also another curious and dangerous fact is what happens if I transform when possessing a human body. I will never find out, it would be extremely dangerous. Another fact being a ghost, I have control to move inanimate objects like a ghost except living beings. Izuku, and that's it, he said, finishing writing. In case of some improvements in my aliens, leave more space. Setsuna, you surprised me a lot and wow, you've changed a lot, she said, smiling although blushing when she saw how Izuku was more defined and taller than her before they were the same height. Izuku, and a big change, he said, touching his marked abdomen, and says, now I'm so hot. Hee sorry, I always wanted to say that, smiling while sighing. Well, today let's rest because tomorrow is the big day. Setsuna, very good, smiling as the two headed back home. After that the big day arrived, outside the UA. Izuku, we're finally here, aren't we, Setsuna? He said while looking at the green-haired girl while they were at the entrance. You still have to take the recommended entrance exam, right? Setsuna, that's right, and I know it, but I'm a little nervous, she said, smiling nervously, but you'll see that we'll make it. Katsuki, get out of my way, extras, he said with his typical attitude, looking angrily at the two green-haired men. Izuku, you can get past us, right? Not all the way is a straight line, he said with a chibi Meliodas-style face. Katsuki. With a face. Extra student, they got it in you, he said in a mocking tone because of what they heard. Extra student too, now they really got it in you, playing along. Extra student, they got it in you. Extra student, they got it in you, whistling in pure genius. Oki doesn't take 2xd. Katsuki, shut up, I already knew, he said, annoyed, passing by them, very annoyed. Setsuna, you applied it very well, Izuku, he said mockingly and laughing. Izuku, well, today is a great day, let's go, Setsuna said while walking but accidentally tripped. He was about to put his hands on the floor, but am I floating? Sorry, it was my gift, said a girl's voice while helping Izuku to stand up. It would be bad luck if you stumble, Izuku, oh thanks, don't worry, I've been through worse things, he said while looking at the brunette. I'm Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you. Ochako Uraka, is a pleasure, she said, smiling happily. Setsuna, Ajim, coughing discreetly with her jealousy held back, won't you introduce me, Izuku? Izuku, sorry, she's my best friend, Setsuna Tokage, he said embarrassedly, introducing the green-haired girl to the brunette. Ochako, oh hello, nice to meet you, Tokage, are you both ready for the exam? She said while looking at the two. Izuku and Setsuna, yes, more than ever / yes, whatever, one smiling and the other with a pout. Ochako, try your best, she said, smiling as she walked away. Izuku, wow, that girl looks very lively, don't you think, Setsuna? He said, smiling and looking at his best friend. Setsuna, whatever, come Romeo, she said with an adorable pout of jealousy. She pulls him by the arm to take him inside. Narrator, after introducing himself to the girl Ochako Uraka, both green-haired men get ready to take their entrance exam and recommendation test, so each one goes their own way, and of course the green-haired man waits for the written exam to start, so technically thanks to gray matter he studied and everything was easy. In less than 15 minutes he finished, surprising most. He handed in his exam and then waited and rested. After a jump in time, our green-haired boy was in his place, of course. Unfortunately, he had to be with Katsuki. Present Mike, hey how are you students? He said while he was the one who was presenting the exam. I want you to shout with me, yeah. He said very excitedly. But an awkward silence took over the place. Present Mike, oh, how annoying they were. He said, still with a smile and a drop of anime falling down his head. Anyway, it's time to explain to you about the exam, he said while a city and 4 robots were shown on the screen. As you will see on the screen, you will have to eliminate certain robots from different points so that you can accumulate them. There are 1, 2, and 3 points in total. The more you destroy, the more points you will have to accumulate. Of course, it is strictly forbidden to attack other students, since technically that is an act of a villain, so if someone inflicts damage on a participant, a red card and goes home, he said, explaining. Izuku, I see. The more points each robot has, the more difficult it would be depending, he said, whispering under his breath while thinking, but that 4th robot that's on the screen is missing, he said in a low voice while he waited calmly. That's true. Katsuki was quiet, but he heard what the green-haired man said. Present Mike, very well, do you have a question? He said while looking at the students. I have one, said a blue-haired man. According to what I mentioned, there were only 3 robots and in the brochure they have 4 robots. What kind of prestigious academy lets this go unnoticed? And you said, seriously, scolding and pointing at the green-haired man, you've been mumbling for a while, it's stressful. Izuku, hey, calm down, friend. I didn't murmur, I just said that we needed that robot on the screen. He said calmly and serenely, if I bothered you a little, I apologize on my behalf. Oh, wow, I'm so sorry, he said, apologizing embarrassedly and sitting down. Present Mike, okay, calm down, that wasn't forgotten. I was just about to mention it. Okay, as you'll see on the screen, the fourth and last robot is 0 points, so don't face it, it's more of an obstacle. Think of it this way, you're fighting villains of a certain level of difficulty, but when a much more powerful villain appears, some make the decision to run away from him and escape, depending on the situation. In case the villain was stronger, well, remember this, you have a time limit to get the highest score you can, he said, finishing explaining. After that, another jump in time. Izuku, oh my gosh, how much money will the UA spend? He said, amazed, looking at the fake city. Well, let's stretch, he said, warming up his body. Extra, hey, isn't that the one who tripped at the entrance? He said while watching the green-haired boy warm up. Extra 2, haha, it will be easy, he said, smiling arrogantly. Extra 3, lucky fools like him shouldn't be here, he said, smiling maliciously. Izuku, if you're going to tell me something, tell me to my face, he said with a very serious look, and for some reason the extras got scared. They could swear they saw 11 shadows surrounding him, although the 11th looked half blurry. Wow, that boy silenced them with just one look. The air feels a bit heavy, I have to go apologize properly, he thought, surprised and nervous, and was about to go talk to the green-haired man. But in that present Mike, let the exam begin, he said as the doors opened and a green-haired man ran out quickly, and boy was he fast despite not activating the Omnitrix. What are you waiting for? This is real life, not a countdown, follow the boy's example. Everyone immediately started running to go to the city, but then they saw something they never expected to see. Izuku, well, since they are robots, I will use Ultra T, he said while selecting the icon. It's time to be a hero. Pressing the ring. Ultra T, it's time to start the party, he said, smiling, although the way he moves his eye looked like both a mouth and an eye. He shoots a powerful ray that destroys 3 2-point robots. Very well, 6 points, and now, he said while seeing a 3-point robot. Ultra T, it's time to start the party, he said, smiling, although the way he moves his eye looked like both a mouth and an eye. He shoots a powerful ray that destroys 3 2-point robots. Very well, 6 points, and now, he said while seeing a 3-point robot approaching. Perfect. He launches himself, merging with the robot, updating his arsenal and going to destroy robots. Narrator, those who saw how the green-haired man transformed into that black-green creature were amazed, and with their mouths on the floor. The boy not only destroyed 3 2-point robots, but he also took control of one of them and is massacring more robots, while in the observation room. This generation promises a lot, said a man in a cowboy hat seriously. Who attracts their attention the most? Speaking the tiki block. I say the chatty block. I have a gravity girl, said a woman in a very tight and sexy suit. To me, the guy with the motors on his legs, said a being with a robe that covers his entire body and a somewhat purple but very dark or black appearance. The boy from the explosions has talent, but his personality is more of a villain. Nothing that can be corrected in this school, said a silver-haired man seriously. Nezu, and tell me, Toshinori, who is the boy? He said, smiling, whispering to the blonde. Toshinori, he is the one who controls the 3-point robot, he said, pointing to Izuku Midoriya's name and his score. I see that the boy who transformed into a kind of technological mass caught your attention, didn't he? Said a talkative caterpillar lying on the floor, taking out all the anime drops, although they were curious about what the caterpillar senpai said. Nezu, I don't know, you tell me, he said mockingly while a switch came out and a red button was there, but the real test begins here. While back on the battlefield. Ultra T, well, I think that's enough, he said while stopping and causing the robot to suffer a short circuit and explode, and leaving the robot. Well, with that, when calculating it, I have approximately 70 points. Well, I suppose I'll rest for a while. Present Mike, 10 minutes left, he said while announcing. Ultra T, okay, it's time for, but I was about to say something, but the whole city is shaking, but what the heck? Then a huge robot came out of nowhere, causing havoc and disasters. Extra, run is 0 points, they said while running away like scared little girls. Extra 2, run for your lives, idiot, he said, terrified as they fled. Ultra T: okay with Saitama's face and sees the robot. Phew, that's big, I wonder how much it would cost them to make it, and what's more, if he used gray matter, that robot would be perfect for those who attacked the other day, and without further ado I leave and. Oh Chaco, help, she said while she was trapped. The alien Mechamorpho saw that it was the girl who helped him at the entrance. She was trapped, and seeing the others running without even realizing it, he was disappointed and ran with everything he could towards the robot, so immediately he first used his ray in the eye to hit it, but it barely did any damage, so it turns into liquid, fusing with the robot controlling it. Note, just like this image I found, Just ignore Izuku and Melissa from the image and focus on Izuku being Ultra T and controlling the robot. Everyone was left with their mouths open watching how the alien Mechamorpho managed to easily control the 0-point robot. Ultra T, okay, I have it under control. He approaches Ochako, who was surprised. He removes the rubble from her and carries her in his mechanical hand and goes to the students and carefully lowers her. You're safe. Ochako, T, thank you. Blushes from being saved. Ultra T, it seems that there are more 0 points, he said while seeing several, and that he takes out updated missiles and pointing at the 0 points until the junk in sight shooting missiles at the other 0 points. Upon impacting, the 0 points that were on different sides are destroyed while the one controlled by Izuku moved away, activating the self-destruct system, so he quickly abandons the robot and takes over a 1-point robot and explodes while the alien Mechamorpho separates from the 1-point robot and destroys it. Ultra T, and just in time, he said as time ran out on the clock and he became human again, surprising them even more. While in the observation room. Present Mike, did you see that? That was amazing. He said excitedly when he saw what he saw. Surprising, I had never seen a quirk like that capable of transforming the boy into that thing and fusing with him. 0 points, said the white-haired man, surprised. That boy rescued that girl from certain death. Kya, that boy must come in here, said the woman with emotion. Wow, can you imagine if Power Loader wanted that boy in the support courses, said the literal square man, thinking how Power Loader would want that boy. Nezu, I see that he has the guts to be a hero. He risked everything to save the girl, he said, smiling excitedly, although he whispered in the blonde's ear, ask him to come tomorrow to talk seriously with Toshinori. Toshinori, yes I will, he said seriously, but he was very surprised. I knew the boy was good, but I never thought he could control the 0 points. It is clear that the Omnitrix is a very powerful weapon. We cannot allow it to fall into the wrong hands. But while the blonde was thinking, the giant caterpillar looked seriously at both the director and the blonde, since his attention was on the green-haired man on the screen. Narrator, in the previous chapter our protagonist and his best friend met Toshinori Yagi, a skeletal old man whose emaciated appearance would scare anyone, but unbeknownst to them he was the #1 hero, All Might, but he now knows the Omnitrix, and well, Nezu wanted to know about that alien device. Oh, and let's not forget the important thing. Our protagonist saved the girl Ochako Uraka from being crushed by the 0 points thanks to Ultra T, and now we begin. Izuku, let me help you, he said while taking the blushing brunette's hand and leaning on his shoulder. Ochako, T, thank you for saving me, she said blushing while walking slowly. Oh ouch. That boy risked himself to save her, perhaps. That will be the secret of this exam. It was not to destroy the robots but to save the others in case they are in danger. You are amazing, thinking seriously, looking at the green-haired boy and surprised and admiring. Recovery girl, is there anyone hurt? Said a little old lady walking under everyone's gaze. Izuku, over here? He said while talking to the old woman. She twisted her ankle, he said carefully, helping the brunette sit on the floor. Recovery girl, very well Chao, she said, giving the brunette a kiss on the forehead, and she heals. Ochako, wow, I'm cured, although she said dizzy while the green-haired man held her carefully. Izuku, calm down, it's because of your quirk, right? Recovery girl, when you kiss the patients you speed up the process and cause dizziness, right? He said, looking at the lady. Recovery girl, that's right young man, he, and by the way you're not hurt, right? Curious, since when she saw on screen the transformation of the green-haired man and how he merged with the machine she was surprised. Izuku, don't worry, I'm fine, he said, smiling calmly. Well, do you want me to take you to the infirmary to rest? Referring to a dizzy Ochako, but he was looking at the green-haired boy out of the corner of his eye. Recovery girl, Juju, you are a polite boy, of course, she said as she left. I have to attend to the other wounded. Izuku, okay Uraka, come on and climb on my back, he said while crouching down and looking at the brown-haired girl. Ochako, and no, I don't want to bother you, blushing a lot since the boy offered. Izuku, come on, I insist, he said, smiling at her, making her blush even more. With all her strength, Ochako climbed onto Izuku's back, feeling a bit flustered as she held onto him for support. Izuku, surprised by the close contact, blushed slightly but remained focused on helping her. Izuku, focus, Izuku. Just helping a friend, that's all, he thought, shaking off his flustered feelings. Elsewhere. Setsuna, I don't know why, but when I see Izuku I'll kick his ass hard, she said, feeling offended for some reason. Returning to the protagonist, who for some reason his landing gear will suffer a kick from a girl who loves dinosaurs. Izuku, very well Uraka, I hope you can recover, he said, smiling at her, helping her to lie down on the stretcher. Ochako, why yes, thank you Midoriya, she said, blushing while playing with the tips of her index fingers. By the way, what you did in the test was incredible. What was that thing you were transformed into? Izuku, I could tell you, but I have to go. I agreed to meet Setsuna at the exit. If we get the chance, let's talk again sometime, he said with a smile, making Ochako blush as she watched him leave. Ochako, I hope so Midoriya hee. Oh, and say hello to Tokage for me, she said, smiling, blushing and looking at him. Izuku, sure, see you, and I know you'll stop by Uraka, he said, showing her his thumb as he left. Ochako, Izuku Midoriya, you are someone curious and my hero, he said, smiling, touching his chest where his heart beats. After that our protagonist was waiting for Setsuna, although, about 2 hours later. Izuku, ouch, was it necessary to kick me so hard? He said while rubbing his butt. Also, why did you do it? Setsuna, making a cute pout as they get home. You wouldn't understand, Izuku Midoriya, that terrified the green-haired man, because when a woman mentions your full name you're more than screwed or the girl is upset. After that, the night fell, the green-haired man was getting ready to sleep but then his cell phone rang. Izuku, how strange, whose number is this? He said, looking at the strange number on his cell phone, and just in case, he answered, hello? Nezu, how are you young Midoriya? I am the director of the UA, he said calmly while an alarmed green-haired man got excited and almost dropped his cell phone. I see that you are surprised, right? Izuku, why yes sir. Wow, I really never thought you would talk to me, director, he said, surprised that the director of the UA Academy was talking to him, and excuse my rudeness, what do you want to talk to me about? Nezu, calm down, it's understandable that you were thinking it was a prank call, surprising the green-haired man on the other end of the line. Anyway, you see, young Midoriya, I want to ask you a favor. If you can come to UA tomorrow. I want to talk to you about something in private. If it's not too much trouble, how about you come at 10 a.m., would you say? Izuku, oh I understand, seriously, something in private. And okay, sounds good to me, he said, surprised and nervous, thinking that they suspected him about the incident that time of the robot attack, and he was nervous but he breathed in and out air to calm down. Then I'll see him tomorrow. Oh wait, but security. Nezu, don't worry about that, at that time, 10 or 5 minutes away, there will be someone who will guide you, he said calmly while drinking tea since it was too late to drink coffee. Izuku, sure, I'll be there tomorrow, director, he said as the call cuts off. Damn, I forgot to ask his name, he just told me he was the director. Is it a joke? I don't think so, he said, confused as he gets ready to sleep. The next day. Narrator, our protagonist woke up early to have an early breakfast and explained to his mother and Setsuna that the director of the UA had summoned him to talk about something. Obviously, Setsuna wanted to go with him, but he told her it was private, so she couldn't go with the green-haired boy. The boy was thinking about going in some alien transformation, but decided not to. It would be dangerous if he got into trouble, and it took him a while to arrive, but the good thing was that he had already arrived and was in front of the facilities. Izuku, well, there are 5 minutes left, and it's good that I arrived on time, he said while looking at the entrance. I can't believe he's really here. I wonder what he'll tell me, he said while looking around. How strange. Is there supposed to be someone here? Was it a trick? No, it wasn't a trick, appearing behind the green-haired boy, giving him quite a scare. Izuku, holy mother of the fuck, scared he turns quickly and sees a giant caterpillar, because it's always the damn morning of appearing behind one of, he said, relieved to see someone. But who was that man? Aizawa, I'm Shouta Aizawa. So, you're Izuku Midoriya, aren't you? He said, coming out of his sleeping bag while drinking his apple juice. Izuku, why yes it's me, a pleasure Mr. Aizawa, the director asked me to come and could you take me with him please, he said while bowing to greet. Aizawa, follow me and don't get lost kid, he said in a tired tone, but he glanced slightly at Izuku's watch on his left wrist. After walking for a while. Aizawa, these would be the classroom hallways, and over here is the director's office, he said as they continued walking and gave the green-haired boy a little turn. Izuku, wow, the UA is really big, and I understand. I just hope I passed. He said, surprised and excited, but above all, nervous. Aizawa, it's normal to be nervous, but if by chance you enter classes, keep a cool head. Don't let the enemy see your emotions, so you have to keep in mind and be careful, he said seriously and tired. They were already at the entrance of the door to the director's office. Well, we arrived knocking on the door. Nezu, come in, said the voice, the same one Izuku heard on the call last night. So both the black-haired and green-haired men came in. Hi, young Midoriya, I'm a dog, I'm a mouse, I'm a ferret, no I'm the director, my name is Nezu, nice to meet you. Izuku, that's the director of the UA, wow, although it's not to be surprised and assumed since he's small, but he must be intelligent, he said surprised. A pleasure director Nezu, I'm Izuku Midoriya and I introduce myself out of politeness. Nezu, thank you for being polite, young Midoriya, very well, take a seat, and Aizawa, that's all for today, you can leave, he said calmly looking at the black-haired man. Aizawa, actually, director, I'm curious, he said seriously and tiredly, discreetly pointing at the green-haired boy's Omnitrix. Nezu, okay, fine, oh, but before we start, he said as he entered the door. All Might, I'm here, entering calmly in an elegant suit. Izuku, it's All Might, screaming like a little girl like Dipper from Gravity Falls XD, and everyone was left with a WTF face. Ajim sorry, it's just that I can't believe seeing my biggest idol in the Hero Academy where he entered, and by the way, what's that suit? All Might, ha 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 ha, laughing happily. Wow, I feel flattered, young Midoriya, the reason for this suit is because I will be a teacher, he said smiling and exciting the green-haired boy. Izuku, how exciting, he said very excited, it's incredible. Oh, before I forget, he said taking out of nowhere surprising those present a notebook of heroes. See, could you sign it for me please? All Might, ha ha ha, of course yes young man, he said smiling taking his notebook although curious looking. And he was not the only one. Nezu and Aizawa looked at the notebook amazed by how the boy analyzes everything, and the blonde signs it. Here you go young man. Izuku, thank you, bowing many times at high speed, leaving almost on par with XLR8 and leaving with anime drop only 2 less than number 1. Nezu, Ajim, well, he said interrupting to get serious, and the atmosphere became somewhat silent and heavy while the director was sitting in his seat. Well, All Might, can you tell the young man first? All Might, yes, young Midoriya, he said, drawing the green-haired man's attention. The reason you're here is to talk about a very serious topic, but above all it has to do with this, he said smiling, but his tone of voice was serious and pointing at the Omnitrix. Izuku started to sweat profusely. How was it that they knew or were suspecting the Omnitrix EAW? What's wrong with my W watch? And he wasn't the only one. Aizawa noticed the green-haired man's nerves, since he found out that Mirko had a pupil/student/disciple, and the black-haired man wasn't as stupid as most people. Mirko hates teamwork, although when they put her she does her job well, but a disciple, it was ridiculous to think that one of the best heroines of the top had someone who was hidden for a long time. All Might, young Midoriya, he said putting his hand on the boy's shoulder transmitting calm relax, you see, let's say that my uncle Toshinori told me something that I thought would be a joke, but he told me that the situation was dangerous, he said calmly but seriously. Izuku, Mr. Toshinori is your uncle? Surprised and believing the lie, he never thought that Mr. Toshinori and All Might were related, although 2 of those inside knew that All Might was lying so that the boy would trust him. I see. And tell me, how is Mr. Toshinori? I haven't seen him for a long time. All Might, ha ha ha, very well young man, I send you my greetings. Aha, well, let's move on to what's important, he said smiling and clearing his throat. Aizawa, are you ready for this? Aizawa, whatever it is, I don't think it's a big deal, he said in a tired and bored tone while he lays down on the floor in his yellow sleeping bag. While they tell me, I'll be lying here. Izuku, seriously, this guy is very sleepy? He said with a mega drop of anime falling on his head. Nezu, okay, young Midoriya, tell us about that, he said calmly although deep inside he was holding back his emotion. Narrator, our protagonist sighed heavily, nervous but relaxed, taking the advice that the black-haired man told him. Keep a cool head, don't let the enemy see your emotions, so you have to be aware and careful. Being more concentrated, he prepared to tell about the Omnitrix, how he found it, how he used it, and how he faced those killer robots from space. Izuku, and that's how that day went by with Miss Mirko, saving my skin, and so I thanked her, explaining about the Omnitrix. A silence fell over the office. Aizawa, I said, whatever it is, I don't think it's a big deal, but this, he was a little surprised while standing without his jacket. How do we know it's not a lie? Nezu, this surprises me more than it seems, he said smiling although he was still holding back from screaming with excitement. All Might, interesting processing this, but he was pretending he already knew about the Omnitrix, but he was waiting for the other 2 to say something. Izuku, what I say is true, Mr. Aizawa, since if they found out about Mirko, would there be someone who has an entire diamond body? He said and asked, and that had a good point, since if someone had a diamond quirk they would do what the diamond alien would do and cannot do, that is, Christokinesis, but generating large quantities, and if you want I can show it? Nezu, yes please, he said excitedly but trying to contain his excitement. Izuku, okay very well, a question, do you like board games? He said while pressing the Omnitrix button waiting for the selection. Nezu, yes, and chess more, why? He said while looking curiously at the clock, as did Aizawa and a pretended curious All Might. Izuku, well, he's about to become the second most intelligent being on Earth, he said smiling, selecting a certain alien and pressing the Omnitrix. Gray matter, hey, here I go, jumping from the floor to the desk ready to try out, director. Aizawa, okay, I've seen everything, he said, surprised, although he didn't show it, but he was more than surprised. All Might, oh, what a peculiar shape, he said when he saw the size of the little alien. Nezu, oh, you're challenging me, eh, young Midoriya? He said, smiling defiantly. He placed the board and the chess pieces. After about 10 rounds, little Galvin won, surprising those present. All Might, in just 6 minutes he defeated him, he said, surprised to see that the little boy was super mega intelligent. Aizawa didn't say anything because he was very surprised by how the little alien was a really intelligent being. Nezu. He didn't say anything, he pours himself a cup of coffee and then. That terrified the 3 present except the director. That terrified the 3 people present except the director. Gray matter, oh mama, he said, terrified at how Director Nezu laughs. Nezu stops laughing and was calm. Sorry, it's the emotion. Wow, I am literally the second most intelligent being on Earth, and we are surprised, young man, and about what you told us. The Omnitrix is a really interesting and powerful device, and I deduce that you did not want to say anything because the government can misuse it, right, young Midoriya? He said, and the little alien nods. Aizawa, in short, that watch is dangerous if it falls into the hands of the villains, he said seriously, looking at Galvin, and then you can't take the watch off? Gray matter, no sir, Aizawa, it is attached to my DNA, he said while looking at him. Also the Omnitrix belongs to me since I am the user. Nezu, well then only we will know the secret that you possess a powerful device that could be used for villains, he said seriously while drinking his tea. How long will you last transformed, young Midoriya? Gray matter, it takes at least 15 minutes of transformation. And for the clock to recharge I have to wait 6 minutes, he said while explaining that detail. Nezu, very interesting, he said while drinking coffee, but he became serious. And tell me about robots, young Midoriya. Gray matter, oh right, he said while telling about what happened and the discovery of the robots, and well, I can't let the Omnitrix fall into the wrong hands, much less of someone who sent those robots, he said seriously while looking at them. All Might, I agree. I suggest that young Midoriya be watched and also make sure we don't know anything about the Omnitrix, he said smiling, but his tone was serious. Aizawa, yes, that's how it is, we can't allow this boy to be in the wrong hands, he said seriously and not tired. Nezu, it's decided, he said smiling calmly. I hope you don't mind us keeping an eye on you, right, young Midoriya? Gray matter, don't worry, it's understandable, but I also know how to take care of myself in case I'm alone, he said calmly while looking at the black-haired boy. If you don't mind, could you allow me to ride on your shoulder, Mr. Aizawa? Aizawa, good, now your transformation time is up, he said while little Galvin jumps on his shoulder. With your permission, I'm leaving, he said while leaving the office. While the black-haired man left, the blonde and the director remained with serious faces. Nezu, I see that you are very interested in the boy, right? He said while looking seriously at the blonde. All Might, that's right, I offered my niece Melissa the OFA before, but she rejected it, he said this seriously, surprising the blonde. Nezu, and why is that? Looking curiously at the blonde. All Might, the reason is that he said that despite a hard life he told me to give it to someone who was worthy, he said seriously, but surprised that his niece could have become the bearer of the OFA. I'm still between Tagata and young Midoriya, but I must think even better about the candidates. Nezu, as you see it, All Might, you know it's good that you lied to him that your name was your uncle so that he wouldn't suspect your identity, he said seriously but smiling. All Might : I feel bad for not telling him the truth, but I honestly feel like someone took young Midoriya's trust and didn't tell him my secret, he said seriously but deflated again, feeling guilty. Nezu, believe it or not, but tell me, if you had given him the OFA, he would not have found the Omnitrix, and someone else would have that power, but in my opinion if you had told him, he would have put a lot of pressure on the truth, since I took the liberty of investigating him. Apparently he is quirkless just like you were, he said smiling, taking out some papers, but since you want to avoid them knowing about your weakness, and so on, you avoid everyone worrying about you since you are determined to give your life for others. While they were talking now we see the black-haired and green-haired man who has already returned to normal, although Izuku, phew, another little bit and that Kato would have turned me into his dinner, he said relieved with anime drop, since when he was still in his Galvin alien form and they saw a cat, the feline chased the poor alien for a while. Thanks to Aizawa and his passion for cats calmed him down, allowing the green-haired boy to become human again. Thanks for saving me. Aizawa, you're welcome, and the good thing is that it came with cat toys, he said, caressing the kitten in his arms while he sleeps. You know, when the letter arrives and the time comes, you should avoid playing with that clock. Izuku, oof, well, huh? But I would never play with the Omnitrix, he said while getting a little nervous. he has already played with it a few times. Aizawa looked at him with a "don't fuck with me" look, scaring the green-haired boy. "You better remember, it's not a toy and much less abuse it. I recommend that you keep training until the letter arrives that will tell you if you entered or not. Now go because I have to go to sleep," he said seriously and with a funny face of wanting to go to sleep already. Izuku, "Why yes and okay," he said with a Saitama-style face. It was noticeable that he was dying of sleep, so the green-haired man went home. "Now that I think about it, what will Setsuna and my mother say that now they know about the clock?" While the green-haired boy was heading towards his house, we found ourselves in outer space. "Vilgax, and how are things going with the repairs?" he said seriously and now calm, while he waited for them to tell him. "Robot, the ship has already been repaired, and we will be here for exactly a year, and the space ring is still being built. It will be ready in a few months." Vilgax, "Excellent," he said as he came out of the capsule, with a more muscular appearance and above all some strange tubes connected to his arms. "Robot, your whole body is already healed, Mr. Vilgax," he said while analyzing him. "Vilgax, I know. There is a planet where there are threats that are at a difficult level," he said while looking at his body and clenching his hands. "Robot 2, they are in about 2 Earth days on a planet full of very dangerous aliens," he said while informing him. Vilgax, "Very well, I must get used to my new improvements and above all something to have fun with," he said while walking to one of his ships to go. "I want you to send the following robots to Earth in a few days, while I practice too, because I have a feeling that many surprises await me on Earth." Narrator, we return to Earth. Izuku told his mother and Setsuna that the director, All Might and someone else know about the clock, something that excited and alarmed them both. The excitement that the boy was lucky enough to meet All Might and that he would work there, and the other of alarm that 3 more people know the secret of the Omnitrix. But anyway, now let's move on to the important thing. Setsuna, "I wonder when they will arrive," she said while watching TV. Izuku, "I don't know," he said seriously and calmly but nervously like Setsuna while they waited. "But in that Inko, for Izukuss Setsuna," she said entering nervously and accelerated showing 2 letters from the UA. Her letters from the UA arrived. Both green-haired men without hesitation get up to take their letters, both nervous. Each one went to their room to open them, and both passed. To skip the cliché of but Izuku's points will be included, and Izuku was first in his class. He had 100 in the written 70 villain points, plus 60 rescue points for a total of 140 points. That surprised the 2 women, and of course Izuku would be in Class A with his best friend Setsuna. There are going to be changes in Class A, and I hope you like them. After a few days. Inko, "And have you got everything?" she said while watching the 2 green-haired men finishing putting on their shoes. Izuku, "Mom, calm down." Yes, we take everything," he said while looking at her with a calm smile. Setsuna, "That's right, Mrs. Inko, don't worry," she said smiling. "Besides, we always check twice always." They were about to leave but Inko, "Izuku, Setsuna," she said calling the 2 and they see her smiling at them. "Do your best and I'm proud of both of you." Izuku and Setsuna, "Yes, thank you, Mom/thank you, Mrs. Inko." They both leave the house together to go quickly to the academy. Time jump 5 minutes later. Setsuna, "You know how lucky we are that you learned the hallways and places in the school, thanks to that Mr. Aizawa," she said while. Izuku, "Yes, that's right," he said smiling, "and they found Class A. Wow, the door is really big." Setsuna, "It must be for someone who has a quirk of size, as well as your transformations," she said looking at the door and then at the green-haired man. "I hope we don't run into the firecracker with legs." Izuku, "Hee," the green-haired man said laughing. He opened the door and was surprised to see 2 people arguing. Tenya and Katsuki. Cliché jump. Tenya, "Hello, nice to meet you. I was about to introduce myself to Izuku but he interrupts me." Izuku, "Calm down, I heard your name, and it's a pleasure. I'm Izuku Midoriya." "It's a pleasure," shaking his hand. Setsuna, "And I am Setsuna Tokage, your best friend," she said introducing herself. Tenya, "Nice to meet you both. I thought you were brothers," he said while greeting them formally. Izuku and Setsuna, "And the same thing," they said with angry faces. "Just because we have green hair doesn't mean we're related." "Oh, so they are not northerners, how lucky," said a blonde man with a lightning bolt on his head. "Look at that body," said a grape-headed dwarf drooling, "who will be well tortured in the future." You sucked it," said a boy with half protruding teeth and black hair. Tenya, "Oh sorry," he said apologetically. "I have to say something, Midoriya. Sorry for being rude to you during the exam, and I have to tell you that you discovered the secret of the exam." Izuku, "Don't worry, the past is the past, and I just found out about that if you rescue someone you get points," he said calmly with a smile, surprising the others about that if they rescued others they could have had more points. On that. Ochako, "Oh, it's you Midoriya," she said as she arrived at the living room. "I'm glad to see you again." Izuku, that voice, "Oh Uraka, I'm also glad to see you again," he said with a smile like the protagonist. Setsuna, "Ajim Izuku, who is she?" she said with a half-forced smile and a twitch in her left eye. "It's already fucked up," said a red-haired man when he saw the aura of jealousy that the green-haired girl gave off. Katsuki, TKS, clicking his tongue, annoyed. TKS, that Midoriya was lucky, but you'll see that I'll crush him, thinking annoyed. Aizawa, if you're going to play with your friends, go somewhere else. This is the hero course. He said while lying down with his sleeping bag and taking out his toy. Everyone. Izuku, who is this? Watching the man get up. Izuku, hello Mr. Aizawa, or should I say Professor Aizawa, he said, greeting the black-haired boy and surprising those in the classroom. Aizawa, oh hello Midoriya, he said with his typical attitude, and in that everyone goes to sit in their places. It took them 10 seconds to sit down. I introduce myself, I am Shouta Aizawa and I will be your teacher during these years that you attend. I know it is sudden, but put this on and I will see you in the courtyard, he said while taking out a sports uniform. Time jump. All Aizawa, UHHH quirk tests? They all said in unison. Oh Chaco, but there wasn't going to be an opening ceremony, she asked curiously, and like the rest they got curious. Aizawa, here at UA it is a very different school from all the others. Here we do not take the importance of that type of event since we must form heroes, and for that each of the teachers can use methods or another method to be able to focus on turning them into heroes. Well, enough talk, it's time to start, I explain in a very serious but tired tone, and explaining the importance of being a hero. Well, Midoriya comes forward, since you were first in the exam. Everyone was surprised, and that made the ashen-haired boy annoyed at how a loser like him could overcome him. But well, Izuku walked over to where Aizawa was. Of course some curious people noticed the green-haired boy's watch. Izuku, yes, Professor Aizawa? He said while looking at the black-haired boy. Aizawa, what was your ball-throwing score? He said while looking at her and giving her the ball. Izuku, 20 meters, he said while looking at him. Aizawa, stand in the circle without leaving. You are free to use your quirk whenever you want, he said while throw it with all your strength without leaving the circle. Oh Chaco, I wonder what creature he will use, she said excitedly. Tenya, yes, he will be able to use that technological being, he said curiously while chatting with the brunette. Setsuna, you guys watch and enjoy, he she said smiling. Katsuki, hey, but what the hell are they talking about if he's a useless quirkless, he said, annoyed, speaking to those who were listening and watching. Tenya, quirkless, that's impossible, didn't you see what he did with the 0 points? He said seriously, scolding the ashen-haired man. Setsuna, the only useless person who doesn't respect others is the one who goes around shouting, she said seriously and annoyed to the ashy blonde. Katsuki, huh? He said with annoyance and confused. Izuku, with what strength? I could use 4 arms. Oh Ultra T for his beam, but I think I would end up disintegrating the ball. Better 4 arms, he said while discreetly activating the Omnitrix. Only 3 people who saw this were All Might, Aizawa and Setsuna. Crushes the ring and transforms. Oh yes. That surprised everyone as the green-haired man transformed into some kind of creature, not knowing that he was an alien of the Tetraman species. 4 arms, it's time to fly, he said while throwing the ball above him and then making a quick turn on his own axis to gain power and be able to hit the ball and send it far away. He goes, and he goes. Everyone was surprised by the strength and power that the alien Tetraman released. Aizawa, wow, he said surprised, showing the mark. Everyone. Aizawa and Izuku, 950 meters? Surprised by the amount he pulled out. Oh Chaco, I didn't use it like the one in the exam, but I got a hero record, he said surprised by the release. Tenya, wow, it's a different creature than the one I used in the exam, he said seriously and surprised. Setsuna, come on, I told you, smiling. Katsuki, BB, but how did he do it? Quirks are supposed to awaken at 4 years old, and I met him in high school, and maybe, did he have one and this loser hid IT from me? What strength, what power, said the red-haired man with emotion. It's impressive, it's almost similar to me, said a white-haired man with 6 arms. 4 arms, I thought I would go far, I must improve more, he said seriously while cracking his bones. Katsuki : Midoriya. While making explosions in his hands, some were alarmed. You damn, you explain to me what all this is. He started running to try to give him an explosion. 4 arms, not on my guard, he said, clapping loudly, causing a wave of air pushing the ash blonde and astonishing everyone that from that distance moved the hair of each and every one of the students. Aizawa, Midoriya getting his attention. I'll take care of this, he said seriously as he approached Katsuki, who was getting up from the ground, and Bakugo, I don't know who you think you are, but here in this school, Abuse is not allowed, so you attack him or you'll know the consequences. 4 arms, this is going to be very interesting, so I must not stay behind, he said seriously and determined.